I want to talk about the internationalization of higher education. What am I talking about there? It's the way that I view it is having a influence on culture based on the ideas that you produce at a particular institution across many different cultures. And I think it's a really interesting topic to think about this, right? So the primary product that you produce at universities are ideas. Those ideas are really amorphous. We can't really put our fingers on them. And yet they are created, packaged, sold across many different regions. And there's been a strong influence for some time to have internationalization, to sort of push the boundaries of these ideas being spread across culture. And the reason is we know that there's a huge body of literature at this moment, a very solid body of literature suggesting performance benefits by sharing ideas, not within just the university, but the performance benefits across, maybe it's even in a city, maybe it is, a country's, whatever sort of level of analysis you're looking at, there is strong benefits of sharing ideas. It's the one thing that we often focus on in business and management we study is the sort of sharing of ideas. We see these, I don't know of very many papers and research that suggests otherwise, that the sharing of ideas is sort of harmful in the long run. In the short term, it is very uncomfortable sometimes to share ideas, to sort of push the boundary of these ideas. And the reason is that you can build on top of them, right? They're regenerative, they combine, you can build on past ideas. So the more that we share ideas, the more that we sort of reduce these boundaries across different cultures, the more we internationalize, the better off we actually are. Now, there's another reason I think it's super important to internationalize, is that it's the assumption that we have enough resources in our particular geographic region. And the fact is we don't often have those resources. And it's because of the structure of any particular industry is that there's usually only a few people, a few things that sort of rise to the top of many thousands, right? And many hundreds of thousands. And what am I talking about here, right? So it's sort of a specialist market where there is a couple of things, right? So whether it's people, whether it's firms, whether it's universities that kind of bubble up to the top, and they get a lot of resources and they do spectacularly well. But then there's a whole bunch that don't necessarily do that. And what is super important is that we have this international influence so we can draw in some of the, some of the talent from other places. And so we can actually build on top of that, right? So ideas are pretty finicky that way, that you do need those resources. So there's something that's really interesting that's changing right now that, I want to talk about. And I saw this term just very recently as de-internationalization or de-globalization. And I think this is going on so globalization is not a thing that's constantly happening, right? So globalization is sort of where we're building ties, particularly at country levels across different countries, and that's been going on for a long time, globalization. But in the last little bit, there's been a contraction of how much global influence we actually like. And I think what's happening there is that there are many countries that are quote unquote coming online, right? They're becoming vastly developed, and a couple of the Western countries are no longer the sort of principal cultural leaders of society. And people feel uncomfortable with that, right? That there is many other countries, and the sort of term leader is not a good idea, or a good sort of terminology, but it's thinking about how much we should pay attention to other people, essentially, and how much we should incorporate other people's ideas. And the way that we can navigate this in my view, is to increase understanding, cultural understanding with others. And unfortunately, I like this sort of view as sort of the melting pot where we have more of a global culture where we understand what other people are doing and they understand us, and we can sort of get along with these, understanding what these particular differences are. Now, there's lots of places that end up doing that, and they do well, right? So the focus in the last decade has been focused on these sort of cultural differences. But if you look at many countries around the world that are building on other people's cultures and incorporating them, they do pretty well. And that has been going on for a long time. So if we focus on the similarities, we don't see as many differences. And I think that's what's been going on, is that we've been focusing on these differences rather than the similarities. And I think we need to start building this cultural conversation again, that it is okay to internationalize. It is okay to do outreach. And in fact, it would be encouraged. I think most people that are in higher education kind of understand the importance of outreach to other countries and to incorporate them. And the reason is it's a competitive disadvantage if you don't do that. And that's a really important thing to think about. So again, coming back to the literature that I know of, and I've read 3,000, 4,000 at least, books and articles and things like that. And that's still not enough, right? But from everything that I've read, I rarely see anything that suggests that there is a performance disadvantage by learning others' ideas and building on these other ideas and transferring these ideas. So in order for us to do, to have a competitive advantage in the long run, I think, every university, every sort of college should be really pushing for this internationalization and continue to do that, because I think that there is going to be some pressures to de-internationalize, de-globalize, and we're starting to see some of these things. So making sure that we do this is a very, very important part of culture. It's a very important part of having our competitive advantage, to making sure that we're always outreaching and being part of a global culture. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.